Hi, Peter Boyles, and welcome back to The Shoot. It's a television series for YouTube. We all put together, Mark Crowley and, of course, Brian Taylor and Kelly Michaels and myself. And we've been off for a couple of weeks and brought this show back, and there is absolutely no one that I would rather be sitting here with than this man. Please welcome to The Shoot, the one, the only. And I was driving over to the radio station this morning to do this, and I'm thinking to myself, how many television shows and radio shows and how many things have we done together over the years? And the answer is, I don't know. John Bandimere. And they're never, I mean, truly, when people talk about legendary people in the Front Range.
Bless you. Bless you.
So I'm doing a quick bunch of mathematics, which I can't do. The track opens 1958.
Yes.
The track will close this year.
That's the plan. Yep, that's the plan. Yep.
All right, fill in the blanks.
Well, you know, it's just what's happened to us is when we started off, we had 178 acres. The highway came through and took about 20.
Well, that's 470.
470, yeah, and that was a condemnation deal, and kind of took away our entrance way and so on. And so we've operated, my dad, John Sr., he went to heaven in 1986, April of 86. The highway came in 89, so it's just kind of after that period, 87, 88, 89. And that was the time when we got together and kind of worked it out with NHRE to rebuild the place. So we put quite a bit of money in, moved a lot of dirt, kind of spiffied it up and brought it into the 20th century, you might say. And so over the years, everything's been going just great, really. Pandemic hit, yeah. And we were like, I think we were down 95% that year as far as business, and so it's just been kind of a build back. But during that period of time, Peter, it was a time of introspection, to take a real look at it. We have about 150 acres, maybe 100 of them are usable because of the hills and everything, and the rigs that the racers have today, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Used to be, you drove your car.
Sure. Or you towed it on a flatbed.
Yeah. And just kind of a side note, we just had a large NHRA points race a couple weeks ago, and I'm listening on the radio. I don't carry a radio anymore, but I was listening, and they said, well, we've got room for a 75-footer, and there wasn't a 75-footer around. They're all 85, 95 or longer. Wow. Can you imagine? So here's what's happened. That acreage gets smaller and smaller. And so a lot of people have got the idea in their mind that because these Lennar is building homes real close, that they're pushing us out.
Yeah, well, I've heard that.
Yeah, and that's not true. I mean, the folks that are involved with Lennar are kind of like the same people who had Solterra. We've worked with them. They give people a piece of paper that says they know they're buying next to a racetrack. But it's got to the place to where really we just need space if we're going to continue.
Yeah. Has there been pressure from the commissioners of Jefferson County on you?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay, because that was something for a while.
Yeah, well, that was actually the health department. It wasn't the commission.
Okay, fair enough.
During the pandemic, they wanted you to do certain things, and we said, we tried to do what they wanted, but we didn't do it apparently the way they wanted it, and so they were going to shut us down.
Yeah, I remember.
In fact, they came in and sent 3 guys in with guns to take my liquor license.
We talked about that. Yeah.
That was quite interesting.
They actually, firearms, they came into the Speedway.
Yeah.
And did they take your license?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they took it, and
Yeah.
and we said, why? Well, because you are going to. We hadn't done anything wrong. They were afraid we were going to do something wrong. See, that's wrong. I mean, it was totally wrong.
Preemptive.
We ended up getting it back, and I never paid a fee.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I remember you guys going to the Taj. I remember you at the Taj Mahal and you were outside.
Oh my. Well, we hired Randy Corporan.
Yeah, I know.
And Randy, he, bless his heart, just lost his wife.
I know he did.
Yeah, bless his heart.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, we just really felt that it was kind of a thing that they needed to understand. You know, it's okay to tell people certain things, but when they take away your liberty, they take away your ability to live. I mean, I was actually told, Peter, that these 50 racers are the only 50 racers that can use that portalet. No one else can use that portalet but these 50 racers.
Who made that decision?
Health department.
Now, Jeffco is not Tri-County, so it's,
No,
they're different.
no, it's
they're
Jeff-
different.
no.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time, and
Oh, yeah.
and I look back on it, and I would go through. I'd do the same thing I did, stand up and just tell them no.
Well,
I called our buddy, the sheriff,
sure.
Jeff,
Well,
and
the
and I
best
said
guy,
to him,
yeah.
I said, "Are you going to shut us down?" He said, "Absolutely
Yeah,
not."
I remember that time. I remember talking
Absolutely
to him about
not.
it. Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, fine." But you know, during that, there were certain people that that were friends, that I felt were friends forever. And man, you ought to have read some of the things they wrote me.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I was like killing
Best
people.
time to find out.
I was doing everything wrong, and now the
Now they love you again.
not only that, but now they're saying, well, we made some mistakes.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have made everybody do this. We shouldn't have made everybody get a shot. And it goes on and on. So but you know what? It ain't going to do you any good to badmouth anybody.
Well, the best time, and the historians have said this, and find out who you are, is when you're sitting on your rear end.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been fired off of jobs, and for some pretty interesting reasons.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there and the phone rings and it's guys that you know, hey,
Right.
what can I do to help?
Yep. And trust me.
And you got those calls.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
lots of them.
Yeah. I mean, the other ones, you know,
I got them from a guy by the name of Boyles.
that's me and you, though. That's me and you.
Appreciate it.
I remember, like, watching this thing, and there were so many things happening in the country at that time.
Right. Right.
And I never knew. I mean, you're watching this stuff, and it was the first true politicized disease.
Yes.
And then you held the rallies, which I'm sure, you know, lit their fuse even more, which I thought to myself, because I know you, and I said, is John just being John here? Or, you know, are you doing this with intent?
No, there's no reason for me to do anything unless I really felt that it was something that God wanted me to do. And sometimes what happens is, you know, whether it's health, whatever it
Sure.
might be, you know, even today, right now, people ask us, why are we thinking of moving?
Oh,
And
I hear it all the time.
We don't want to move.
Yeah.
We really don't want to move, but we're almost at that place to where, in order to continue to have the Mile High Nationals and some of these events that have grown, we just need to be. I mean, Peter, it'll be real interesting this year on the Mile High. Saturday of the Mile High Nationals. Now, you've been there.
Many times.
And you sit on the west side, and you
Yes.
look over at the east side, and there's maybe a sprinkling of seats filled.
Yeah.
Every seat is sold
Sure.
right now.
Sure.
We have no tickets left for Saturday,
Yeah.
east or west.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be a lot of people who won't sit on the east side. They'll walk around.
Sure.
But we've never been in that position, and we're not doing that to try to get a big crowd. We're basically, I think people are saying, I want to come because this is the last chance.
Sure.
And so we're just really trusting God right now for exactly what He wants us to do. We're so ingrained within the sport with all the stuff that we make and the timing system and and all of the equipment that my son-in-law and family are all involved in. I bet you my family has probably 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 race cars of their own.
Yeah.
You know, so
one of the things that came out of this, and as a reader, the so-called Greens, politicians and activists, they want to close automobile racing. They're after NASCAR. They're especially in the South, the dirt track ovals. They're after the National Hot Rod Association, even Indy cars.
Yes.
Because it's the dreaded internal combustion engine.
Yes.
And there really are moves right now to shut these sports down.
Yes.
And I when I told some friends that we were going to talk, and they said, "Ask Bandimere what he thinks of that. Is that taking place? And did that affect you?"
No. At this point in time, that has not affected us.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I am an internal combustion engine guy.
Well, us both. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I laugh because I was just told by a friend of mine, we had gone on a little golf trip, and he said, "Okay, John," he said, "all of a sudden, let's just say we have an electric vehicle, and we run out of juice."
Yeah.
He said, "Where are we going to get it?"
Yeah.
I said, "I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?" He said, "Well, if we ran out of gas, we could go buy some gas and put it in." But he says, "What happens when you run out?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, better yet, what are you going to do when it catches on fire?"
Yeah, and they do.
And they do.
Yeah.
There's just so many questions right now.
But you haven't felt the political Greens shut this down?
I haven't. No, I have not.
Because I mean that's a real movement in the country today, is to go after automobile racing.
Yeah. Well, but see, I don't believe that the internal combustion engine is causing any problems with our air.
Oh, I mean, as a reader, the Earth has changed so many times. Well before Henry Ford drove one out the alley,
Right.
So, like you can go out here and find skeletal remains of camels and elephants.
Yes.
Nobody was driving around then. Is the Earth changing? Yes. Has it changed before? Yes. Will it change again? Yes. And remember that climate and weather are two different things.
Yes,
but it doesn't matter, because now it's an emotional, political thing. But now I was asked to specifically ask you that.
I have not.
No. Yeah.
I got to tell you a quick story, though.
Okay. All right.
Next door where I live is an Airbnb.
Oh, wow.
And it's been interesting to watch that. But they had 11 Harleys that showed up, and they came in on, let's see, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trailers and trucks, had them all parked up and down my street where I live. And they all were there, and every morning they'd fire them puppies up and take off down the street, 7 o'clock at night. Here they'd all come back.
Oh, yeah.
They had a great time. They were here for 3 days, and it was such a joy to hear them all start up.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a cackle car,
Well, they're all, there's something.
They have such a great sound.
Sturgis is coming, we're gearing up, that's, but that, back to 58, and how old are you when your dad opens the original track?
Well, I graduated high school in 1956, so I was 18 when I graduated high school. So I probably
you worked for your dad in a speed shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually started making products for my father called Bandimere Manufacturing, and I made a lot of products at his place on Benton Street. And then after that, got married in 1961 to Lorraine, and then I worked in the parts business, and so did she for a while.
With your dad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mom and dad. Mm-hmm.
What kinds of parts? What were they doing?
Our motto was, we specialize in performance. It was performance. Intake manifolds, carburetors.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody had, the cars came with fuel injection.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to tune them.
Yeah.
Nobody had manometers. The only one that had a manometer was Dr. What was his last name? Anyway, he was the head of the blood bank here in town, and he knew how to tune them, but he didn't have time.
Yeah.
He didn't want to mess with them. So I was taking all these fuel injections in and selling guys 4-barrel manifolds with a carburetor, you know, AFB, and or dual fours. Yeah. At one time, Peter, I had 12 complete fuel injection units sitting on the shelf at the store at 1212 West Cedar.
On trades.
Yeah. If I'd have kept those.
Yeah. Well, you're like me. You're worse than I am, because you've had really legitimately expensive stuff that you kissed off.
Oh.
And what would those injectors be worth now?
Well, my brother wanted. He had a fuel injection air cleaner for a Corvette for the fuel injection, and he traded that for a '57 Chevrolet Nomad.
I saw that car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just to show you the value. I mean, I don't know what one of those, you know, because if somebody's trying to build a Corvette back to be stock, it had to have all of the right stuff.
Sure.
And so, crazy.
Do you watch Mecum? Do you watch the auctions?
I do.
I do too.
Yeah.
God, I watch them.
Yeah. I have a really good friend that sold 54 of his vehicles at the Mecum. Wow. They're all Fords, and he's got about 54 more that he's going to sell. And by the way, these cars have no miles. He's bought them brand new and just puts them in the garage.
Man,
it's crazy.
I mean, but when I got to know some of those guys, and I got to call. They streamed that show before they put it on. There's and I got to sit and stream a segment of the Mecum with the guys, and I'm realizing sitting there, and you more so than me because of your life, but it's like you're watching your life come down. It is. You're watching like '56 Ford Fairlanes.
I'm watching West Colfax at Barry's Drive-In.
now, see, because I didn't grow up here, but that was the hot street racing and what was going on.
Yeah.
And you were heart and soul in this.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, Dad, I was fortunate. I had a father that loved performance, and if I went out to race my car, he went with me, and that was cool.
Yeah.
You know? But and of course, Mom and Dad both wanted to build a place to get the kids off the street. Us.
Yeah. Us. Whose idea was it to build the track?
Actually, it was my mom's and Dad's both. They had their parts store was at 803 Champa Street.
Wow.
And
I understand that there would be a line on Saturday morning.
Oh boy, yeah.
And it was a hangout.
I'll tell you what, it was a crazy time of my life, because people came in. My dad and mother were willing to give people like you and me credit.
Wow.
Because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so they could pay, and a lot of them would take this item and they'd say, okay, will you save that for me? And they'd pay down $5 a week or whatever.
We did that with clothes.
Yeah, until they got
tell
paid
people
for
that.
it.
Like,
yeah.
I'm 18 years old. We could 17.
Yeah.
There were not everybody, but there were shops that. What was the word? Layaway.
Yeah, layaway. Right.
Layaway.
Did you ever deal with Ted on Broadway?
No, because I didn't grow up here. But there were the layaway guys.
Yeah, that's true.
And so your folks would.
They just wanted to, and the way it started off was interesting. Jolly Rancher was located on Ward Road, and my uncle, my dad's younger brother, had a piece of property just to the west of that Ward Road and where Jolly Rancher is. You come up the hill, you go down the hill, and there's a valley, and that valley is where the racetrack was going to be built. And the county commissioners gave the okay, everything was set. Equipment came in, started moving dirt, and the people said, kind of, what's happening here? And we said, well, my dad said, well, we're building a racetrack. And, oh, no, not here, not here, not here. And so Dad says, well, we're not here to fight. We're here to build something for the kids to get them off the street. So the county commissioners got together with the Peterson family, who had Peterson Turkey Farm, which is on the west side, and they own quite a bit of property themselves. Anyway, Mr. Peterson said to the commissioners, I think this property up here would be really good. And it ended up being exactly the property. It was the Margaret Morrison, the Pike family, and another family. There was 3 parcels in there. And
I know the Rooneys, so they ride motorcycles.
well, the Rooneys are
yeah.
on down a little farther.
Yeah.
And there's quite a story about the Rooneys, too.
Boy.
Yeah, Otis Rooney was quite a guy.
Oh.
But anyway, that's so Dad went out and went to an auction and bought a bunch of equipment and rebuilt it all and moved all of his own dirt.
Wow.
He was quite a guy.
Oh, the stories about your dad are legendary.
Yeah, it really was.
You know, and
yeah.
I mean, I meet old gearheads, and the name comes up, and they talk about your dad.
And, and the sad part is a lot of those guys are gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really sad.
I was mentioning I had like a breakfast lunch with Lee Larson, legendary guy, the finest radio man I've ever known in my life.
Sir.
And that's really what, you know, you kind of, oh, he's gone. Oh, darn, I didn't know. You know, and but you know, that's the era now. So the era that we live in. Yes, it
is. And you know, we used to look at people like us and say, man, them guys are old.
Well, they're really old.
No, I am old.
How old was your dad when we lost him?
78.
Okay.
He was 78 years old.
And
my mom was 54.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know she died
quite early. Yeah.
So, from 1958, and you guys get the place opened. Did it struggle in the beginnings, or did it work?
Oh yeah, it struggled. In fact, it was a hobby.
Yeah.
It wasn't a place to make money. It was a hobby, and people would come out and throw a few quarters or whatever in a bucket and make a run down the racetrack. And
how did you time back then? How did they put timing on them?
Well, Dad built the first Christmas tree.
Okay.
And we still have it. It's an old one that he had a fellow that was working for us at that time, had him build it. But we used a system at that time. It was called Crondeck.
Okay.
That was the original timing system of all NHRA.
From California?
Yeah, Wally Parks in California, and all the guys on the you know, the beaches out there where they were racing. So anyway, but it was not real accurate, and the reason for it is when you would break the beams, the beam was like a spotlight, and so that was quite large.
Yeah.
And it depended whether the car was low or high or where it hit, or whether they had. And of course, then Sneaky Pete Robinson came to town, and he put a piece of metal underneath his car that ran the whole distance, so the light wouldn't go out until he was already.
He's got an edge.
Yeah, moving down the racetrack.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, right? But there was really some interesting things there. So in that early years that you're talking about, I'll tell you a story that just is so much fun. Because Mom and Dad built it for kids, about 6 or 8 kids from Alameda High School came to him and said, Mr. Bandimere, we want to have a day just for high school kids. So if we could get a bunch of our buddies to come out, would you open up just for us? And my dad and Mom said, absolutely, we would do that. So they opened up on Memorial Day. That was the day for high school drags. And we're all expecting a big crowd. Maybe 50 showed up.
Yeah.
And my dad was disappointed. The kids were disappointed. But they came to him and they said, you know, if you'll do this again, we guarantee you, we'll really pack this place. And so Memorial Day comes around the next year. Tommy and Helen Bricker are working with my mom and dad. Tommy ran the Harley Davidson shop for Ray Cook on West Colfax.
I've heard the stories.
Think about that.
Heard the stories.
Okay,
yeah.
He ran the shop. Anyway, I get a telephone call that morning from the Petersons, and Kay Peterson's on the phone. She says, "Are you going to come out and help your parents today?" And I said, "Well, she said, "They're backed up all the way on Rooney Road to Alameda."
Wow.
And this was a dirt road.
Wow.
And I said, "You got to be kidding me."
Yeah.
And so we jumped in the car, Lorraine and I, we went out there. I think there was 287 or something like that kids showed up to race.
Wow.
And that was the start of the high school drags. We called it the All-American High School Drags. And we've actually had as many as 800 kids.
Wow.
On just one
Well,
day.
that was us.
That was us.
You know.
That was when we all wanted to know what the next model was going to be. The models didn't look all alike.
I have a friend right now. We grew up together, and I'm going to tell Tom to watch this because I'm bringing him up. Tommy Holmes, and his dad owned a gas station and then passed away young and everything. And we've renewed. And I said, what did we want? You're 17 years old. What did we want? We wanted a nice car,
Right.
A girlfriend, and a little bit of money.
That was it.
That was it. I wasn't going to go to college, and all these things weren't going to go on, and but we've agreed that we don't even know who we looked up to, the kid with the cool car, but we wanted a nice car, a girlfriend, a legit girlfriend, and a little bit of money, which could have been $50.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and we go to the drags. You and I have talked about that.
Sure.
All the people that you knew, I'd be sitting someplace and watching them go. And when did the pros first come?
Well, we in 1978, and somebody asked me this the other day, and I apologize, I don't remember, but we became sanctioned with the NHRA in the 70s. I think it was like first of the 71, something like that. Wally Parks came out.
What was he like?
He's a great guy. He
That's
was
what I
very
understand.
soft-spoken, tall, just a guy that was very thoughtful.
He was the founder almost.
He was the founder, along with the guy from Hot Rod Magazine, Peterson.
Yeah.
And Daryl Zimmerman was our division director, lived in Julesburg. And anyway, Daryl was a racer at our place, and he told Wally, he says, "I think this track, you ought to sanction them." So they came and sanctioned us.
What year was this again?
That would have been in the 70s, probably 71, something like that. But in 1978, we had what they call the Sports Nationals. That would have been a national event without the pros. And then in 79, it became a national event with the pros. And so that would be the first time that the pros ran at our place. Now, I shouldn't say it was the first time. In those days, you had the Hawaiian, and you had Prudhomme and these guys, and they were out match racing. And so we would book in a couple of cars maybe to run as a match race.
Would they sell out?
Pardon?
Would they sell out a match race?
Oh, yeah, pretty good.
I love reading about that.
Yeah,
I remember it now.
But I go back and I think about that. You ask these questions. My goodness, Peter, we weren't prepared for a crowd. No. We weren't prepared to sell food. No. We weren't prepared to do anything.
No. I remember the first early pictures I've seen. There's bleachers on one side.
That's right.
That's it.
That was it.
That was it. Now, when did you get into food? When did they start selling food?
Well, there was a place in Colorado Springs that this family had gone out of business. It was a little drag strip, old track, and I went down and bought all of their concession stuff.
Okay.
And Paul Lombardi
Wow.
was the first. He's been with us for 35 years
Jeez.
as our food guy.
Yeah.
And Paul has had a pizza place in Breckenridge,
Yeah.
and he's had one a couple of places. He's quite the guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, you just kind of grew.
Yeah.
I was telling the guys, we were driving down the road here just yesterday, coming back from playing golf, and they were asking what the early days were like. And I said, well, first of all, I didn't have enough money to
Yeah.
make it through the winter,
Yeah.
so I had to have a line of credit at the bank.
Yeah.
So we would make some money during the summer, we'd pay everybody, and
Yeah.
then to get through the winter, we had to go borrow money,
Sure.
and we couldn't make it.
Like a farmer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so then finally we got to the place where we had that Mile High Nationals, and the Mile High Nationals at the first didn't do real well, but then it started to make some money. And so I said to the kids, I said, if we could just pay all of our bills with all the other events that we run, Mile High Nationals could be our profit.
Sure.
And then we could maybe make it through the winter. And I don't remember the year, but that finally happened, and we started to do that. And wasn't a lot, but we
No.
made it through the winter. But once you get things paid for, it's kind of like, it's kind of like having your house paid for and your car paid for. You don't have those payments.
Relax.
Then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
that money that comes in, you can start
Means
to.
something. Well, but you've also poured a lot of money back into it, too.
Oh, in fact,
Yeah.
that's, to me, I think that's one of the reasons we're successful is because we haven't been afraid to put it back. You have to. You have to.
Now, are you going to move and start again?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
If the Lord shows us a piece of property that really makes sense, and if by chance that everything can go together, my family has already voted that they want to keep the sport alive.
Mhm.
And so I think probably the answer to your question is, yeah, we would love to find another location, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
And I'm what is that? And by the way, the sale that
Yeah.
we're in right now, a sale is never done until it's done.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
sure.
And,
Yeah.
and so I've been praying that that everything will go through on that. There's a lot of little details that still need to
But
be done.
that's- Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but after 2023,
Hmm.
there's going to be one last race.
Yep.
You going to run it?
Am I going to run 20?
Are you going
Oh,
to?
in the race?
Yeah, be in the car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a brand new car coming.
What do you got?
I got a Demon, the new Demon.
Well, I knew that you had one.
But I got the new one
Oh,
coming.
even worse.
This is 1,140 horsepower,
Oh my heavens!
where the other one's 840.
Tell the story about. Was it your granddaughter that threw the switch? There's a funny Bandimere story. You lent her the car.
Yeah.
Explain what these cars are first.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a Dodge Challenger.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a Hemi, supercharged,
Yeah.
and it has a black key fob and it has a red key fob. And the black one is 540 horsepower, and the black one, or the red one, is 840. Just and apparently the way Dodge and Chrysler put that together is, if you're going to have a valet guy use your car, you give him the black key fob. Don't give him all the horsepower; he'll be in trouble.
He's gone.
So when I got the car, you had to have 1,500 miles before they put in all of the race stuff that,
No.
it's all electronic. And so Brianna, Sporty's daughter, lives in Pueblo. She got married and lives in Pueblo. So I said, honey, going back and forth to home is 18 miles. It's going to take me forever to get 1,500 miles. Why don't you drive my car? And every time you drive, it's 250
Sure.
miles.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I said, okay. So I give her the key fob. She drives it. She comes back. Oh, that was so much fun. Well, the next time, I didn't even think about it. I gave her the black key fob instead of the red one. She comes back. She takes that key fob, throws it on the desk. Papa,
Yeah.
if I'm driving that car, I want the red key fob.
Oh no, those things, and you know, and you promised me a ride in that, and I'm going to take you up on it this summer. You said you won't believe it'll put you in a, you know.
It's a deal.
Yeah.
I told you.
So, what are they giving you next?
Well, they're not giving me anything.
Oh, what I'm saying.
It's a Challenger.
Yeah.
My first one is a white one,
Yeah.
but this one's going to be silver,
Yeah.
and this is the last, supposedly,
Yeah.
last high performance Dodge Demon or whatever
Yeah.
that Chrysler's going to make, and so they've already sold these cars. Listen to this: the MSRP on these cars is $117,000, and they've already sold. Most of the dealers are marking them up $500.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And people are buying them.
Oh, they
But
can't.
that was the
you
point
can't
of
get
it.
them.
I mean, that was the point of it in
can't get 'em.
1961, 1959.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
like, even if you just went to the drive-in and parked your old beat-up car,
That's
you
right.
watched the guys rumble through.
Right.
And that's really, I mean, that's American and American only. You know,
I've been blessed, though. I have been.
what a time.
Oh, I mean, my '61 Chevrolet 409 was a 360 horse because it had two four barrels.
Oh.
My brother-in-law, Rich, he had a '61 409 with one four barrel, and it was 340 horse,
Yeah. Oh,
20 horsepower less.
Sure.
But those were the first 409
I remember
cars
them.
that came
Sure.
to Denver.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and then of course, the Black Widow story. We've talked about it many times. Too
That's
bad I didn't keep that car,
heartbreaker,
but
yeah.
that.
But there was this moment all of a sudden in the Beach Boys music and when
Oh, yeah.
everything was going on.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fast cars.
Yep. Amen.
And people had them.
Yeah.
and
Well, actually, the cars today are really fast.
faster than?
Oh yeah.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
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 Well,
I mean, hey, my '57 Black Widow, 350 horse, ran about 108, 100 maybe 12 miles an hour. This Dodge Demon goes 130,
to the traps.
135. Yeah.
To the traps.
And it's and you know that '57 had a steering wheel on here like this.
Yeah.
Now you got a steering wheel and
Yeah. I always said this thing about elderly people. We're both elderly. They seem to drive like this. Steering wheels are like,
Right.
And then you go, oh, but then you realize, hey, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm there. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I mean, this is austerity, and I hope it's a history that people can look back and watch this video years from now
I hope they
and
look
see
back.
John Bandimere.
I
And,
hope they look back and see Peter Boyles.
It's me,
Peter
but,
Boyles has been a legend.
but Bandimere.
Yeah.
I mean, and the cool thing about, and I was telling somebody, the very first time I met you, you treated me with respect. I mean, I was a young kid making my bones in the business, and it wasn't like now, where you're nice to the sports figure and nice to, but you were. It wasn't any, oh yeah, blowing some kid off. You were always respectful.
Thank
and what
you.
can I do to help? And come upstairs and take a look at this. And that was always John Bandimere.
Thank you.
So the final one, that'll be line defenses and you're going to be the one that rolls it out.
I'm going to be there. If the Lord allows me to live that long,
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Who's going up against you?
I have no idea. It'd probably be my son.
Yeah.
And-
well, sporty.
And he at the national event, Mopar wanted to have 8 vehicles that are these Chargers,
Yeah.
Challengers, I mean. And so I didn't realize they were going to do that. And so I'm home, and I called my grandson. I said, Cale, I have to qualify to be able to be in that 8
Yeah.
vehicles. Get my car out of the garage and take it up there and make a run, would you?
Yeah.
And he says, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So he went up there and made a run and qualified me on. So at the Nationals, I get a chance to at least race. So that'll be fun.
Oh man,
It'll be really fun. Yeah.
And
I,
then,
it's,
yeah.
I probably won't win, but that's okay. I'm at least there, right? It isn't a matter of winning; it's a matter of showing up.
Didn't a younger John Bandimere drive a car to California to race? I mean, what was it? 57 Chevy.
57.
You took that to California.
Yep. That's where I went and got my chrome wheels.
And you drove it out.
Yep. Yep.
Now today they would put it on a flatbed or put it into one of those and haul her out there.
Yep.
But now,
Yep.
how much? Two final questions. How much money you think is still spent in the economy in this country just simply on drag racing? I mean, it has to be significant.
Oh,
because everything is so much more expensive.
they claim that if you have a fuel or a pro car, fuel car, that the sponsorship level is about 3 to 5 million
a year.
A year, and a lot of them don't even make it with that.
Yeah.
I would, boy, I tell you, when you think of all of the rods and pistons and I mean, and tires.
Right.
I mean, like for example, nitromethane. Nitromethane now, they go one run down the quarter mile, 13.5 gallons. That's a 1,000-foot run.
Yeah.
The fuel lines are
sure
like that. And it's just, oh man, when you start asking that question, but it's got to be in the billions.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. You think when you read, what does it take to take an Indy car out for a year? What does it take to Formula One car out for a year?
Yeah.
What does it take to take a NASCAR? I mean, a legitimately get out there NASCAR out there.
I know.
It's
well. That's why our buddy from Thoreau, Barney, got out of it.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He got out of it because he could not see how he could continue unless he started to take money out of his own pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love you.
I love you, John. I mean, all the years
Appreciate
and everything that's happened, and if there's every once in a while you meet a guy like this, and I so wanted to do this before we ended whatever we're going to end, and this will be up, and I'll hope I can billboard it on Saturday morning. We're right down the hall, 710 KNUS, on at 9 o'clock, and 9 to noon. It'll be 4th of July weekend. Thank you all. Special thanks to Mark Crowley, and who sits and helps me put this together, and the one and only John Bandimere. I'll see you. Thank you.